Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slamhub Wrestling. Myself, Suprit, and this is your AEW Dynamite review for December 29th, 2021.
Yep.
And this was their New Year Smash or Holiday Bash. I'm confused right now.
New Year's Smash. Holiday Bash was the Christmas episode.
And did you watch their last episode?
Yes, I did.
And we'll talk about the important parts that we missed last week in this episode only. But about this show, what did you think about it? I thought it was a decent show because it was a holiday themed. They didn't put, you could say, a lot of effort. Like they are just waiting it out for next week, which is actually a big show. It is their TBS premiere, you could say.
Hmm. Yes, I felt that the show, I mean, like you said, it was decent. It was like a holiday show, so they know, viewership is going to be a little down. But despite that, last week they drew like 1 million viewers, which was great. But like this time, there were just many tag matches, and it was a show for the sake of being a show. And of course, like it was a home show in Daly's place. So it was just like it was a good show overall, but it was kind of there in all aspects.
And any particular thing that you were looking forward to? Like, let me rephrase. Any particular thing you're looking forward to for the TBS premiere?
I mean, it's like they have really, pulling out all the stops for the next week's show. It's like a premiere for apparently it's like the mothership channel on the Turner system. So which I found like a little shocking because I thought TNT was like their biggest viewing channel. Turns out it's TBS because I mean I was going more by the history because WCW Nitro was on TNT and Thunder was on TBS. But in this case, I mean and of course like if they are going to such a big channel that draws in like regular viewership, so they have to start off with a bang. So in this case, I'm expecting a little shock factor, but like there are 3 title matches for next week, so that's also there, and it's in the same week as Battle of the Belts. So you don't really know which one is like the bigger show out of the two. I mean, of course, it's the TBS premiere Dynamite, but it kind of feels Battle of the Belts is like ignored a little.
Hey, can you talk about Battle of the Belts for a second? Like, I think we didn't
Yes, sir.
touch upon this topic. Like, so this is a 1 hour special, right?
Yes, it is a 1 hour special on a Saturday. It's basically like a special episode of a Dynamite or a Rampage kind of thing. I'm pretty much like a Rampage. I have a strong feeling they might just omit Rampage for the week. Instead of Rampage, they'll put Battle of the Belts, and because I mean, there will be like travel this thing as well, right?
So,
Because yeah.
little head scratcher for me. I was, thinking that these specials could be a literal pay-per-view on TV. Maybe 2 hour
Yes.
or maybe 3 hours, but 1 hour, I don't know, man.
And plus, like if you have 4 titles, you can't really, fit all of that in 1 hour. It's going to be a bit of a mess. And that is somewhat we are experiencing with Rampage as well, because the 3 matches are like so perfectly, paced. If you add another match, it really leaves everything in, like in limbo. Like for example, uh two times like we've seen Hook debut, okay, and like it's a short squash match, but at the same time it really takes out the timing from one of the other matches, which is unfortunately a women's match. So there is like a little bit of mess if you want to put 4 matches in 1 hour, and you really have to just pick up the pace and just finish it.
So as of now, they only announced the women's championship match, that is Britt Baker versus Rio.
Yep, that's the only match that is announced, and none of the other titles are on the line, which really devalues the show for now. That is.
So, what was I going to say? So this Battle of the Belts, it feels like a kind of a UFC themed show. You know how UFC throws down this
Fight
random
night.
special. Yes, Because of the fight night term, my mind went to, yes, this feels like a kind of a UFC,
Impact.
UFC, fight pass or something like that.
Yes, and Impact as well. They used to do these open fight night episodes or something like that. Oh yeah, Impact is also a good example in that case because they do these Impact Plus specials. Like they have their pay-per-views and they do these random shows every fortnight. And yeah, I mean that's just there, just to put out more content for their network. So it feels somewhat similar in that case, and these are also going to be like quarterly shows, just like how the pay-per-views are. There's going to be like four special shows on TNTs on Saturdays, so it's just right in that category, it's.
But we'll talk about Dynamite here. But before that, if you're new to Slamhub Wrestling, then make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content, links provided in the description below. And I will try to review day one this week, see how that works. But let's talk about Dynamite, the newest Smash edition. So they kicked off. By the way, they are back in Jacksonville, Daily's Place. I hope I don't want to see that Daily's Place again for a while, if you know what I mean.
Yes, it's really giving like PTSD from the COVID shows, one. And the second, it's like, I don't know, I have this you get that feeling like something's not right. That's what I sometimes get with the Daily's Play shows that they do. And I mean, I understand, it's like a home base for them. They've done most of their shows during the pandemic, and also like some special shows, like for example the New Year show that they did for 2020 was also there. So they have like one entrance way, and I have like it's one of my pet peeves having the entrance ramp connected to the ring apron. So that's also there, and I don't know, the setup really feels weird to me, all in all respect.
We are we have spoken in the past that it is a very unique venue when there's a full crowd.
Yep.
But so the show kicked off here with the return of good old JR. Jim Ross is back on commentary. He got a huge reaction, and great to see JR back, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I don't want to say he was solely missed, but yeah, there was like a bit of oomph missing, in the commentaries. But at the same time, I thought Taz did a wonderful job in his absence. Like last week, we didn't cover the Holiday Bash episode, but Taz was like hilarious throughout. But
Taz,
it's good to see. Yeah,
yeah, Taz is super hilarious on commentary. Like at least we get to hear him on
yeah,
Rampage.
man. Yes, Rampage, and also even on Dark, like he just fucks around with Excalibur throughout the episode. But yeah, it's great to see JR back. I hope he's doing healthier and much better. And everyone looks so happy to see him back. And it's only they waited for him to say it's Wednesday night, and you know
You
what
know what
that
that
means. So I thought
means.
that was that. Yeah, that was a little touching as well.
So we quickly transition into this random 10-man tag. This was involving Jurassic Express, your boy Christian Cage, and the tag team champions Lucha Bros. So they were facing Matt Hardy, Private Party, and FTR. So this was a good opener for Dynamite here. Some great talents. And should we get to the conclusion, or will you give your thoughts for this match?
I mean, it was like your regular, multi-man tag match. And in a way, while we were talking about the episode as a whole, like, it was just there. And that's one of the reasons there were like just these three multi-man tag matches were just peppered in just for, give that holiday feeling or whatever. But I thought this match was good. It did its job in furthering up the story between the Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express. And, HFO can, I mean, seriously bugger off. It's like that's, and I really like Matt Hardy. It's just that HFO thing is not working for me. And FTR are also just there, like now, they're just being slotted in random multi-man tag matches. Like they were partnering with Malakai and Andrade before, and after that with last week with MJF, and now over here. So it also feels weird in that sense. Like, not sure what's there. What are they going to do in the near future? But I liked how the story progression between the Jurassic Express and the Lucha Bros. I was just about to get that wrong. And the highlights were for me were like Ray Phoenix doing Ray Phoenix things, and like there was like a lot of cohesion between the babyface team, except for the ending, and that's about it, I'd say.
Yeah, they couldn't coexist. That was the story throughout the match.
Yeah, that's like something we shit on WWE for, but you know,
And
just
now,
let it
and
pass.
at this point, even they feel like this is a weekly joke.
Yeah, I mean, the Twitter guy must be the Twitter guy is somewhat hilarious in that case.
But this is what costed the babyfaces the match here. Like there was some dissension between Pentagon and Penta and Christian Cage. Like Penta was about to get the victory here, but Christian Cage jumped in. So there were so the heels took advantage of this, and FTR would hit the big rig on Christian Cage and pinned him. So the heel team got the victory here, and let's get through this. So I think Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express had some confrontation backstage regarding this, and as a result of this, we are finally getting the tag title match between Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express, who are ranked number one, by the way, at the premiere episode next week.
Yep. They even Christian was like, "Oh, we can't wait, so we are challenging you next week." And Lucha Bros was like, "Okay, Sero, ye do." So I didn't know that you can, if you're the number one contender, you can just challenge at any time, any place. Or was it explained in the past or something?
Certain loopholes regarding this ranking systems, which AEW can get away from.
I mean, I think the ranking system has gotten like so much better than when they used to do it at the start. Like now there are stories around it, and also they try to put this into equation, like ranking, like for example, if someone is winning so much and he's going to number two, he just needs another win to go to number one, and if he loses he can just go down. So I thought like now, after probably a year and a half, they've done a solid job with that, but initially, yes, it was quite head scratching to say the least.
You can say that it's not a 100% strict ranking system.
Yeah, there's loopholes.
Yeah, but we are getting this tag title match next week. Should be good. And my question is, do they pull the trigger on Jurassic Express? Is it time?
I I feel so because honestly speaking, this Lucha Bros tag reign hasn't gone anywhere much, and which is a shame because like ever since winning the tag titles, they've been somewhat in the background, and the former champions, the Young Bucks, were more at the forefront of any story that was there. So which is a shame because I thought they like Lucha Bros deserve so much more as a as tag champions, and I think the momentum is pretty high on Jurassic Express ever since them aligning with Christian, and I think this is the second tag title opportunity since after aligning with him. But now even after the win, when Jungle Boy got the win versus Super Click at Full Gear. So, like I said, the momentum's been pretty high, and I don't think they're going to hold that. And it is high time for Jurassic Express to win the belt as well because they've been losing so many times as well, like in the past for the tag titles.
So yeah, I think it's time that you pull the trigger. I think you should crown Jurassic Express new tag team champions. And by the way, did you know that? Remember when they were crowning the inaugural champions? Jurassic Express were the top favorite to win it, but I think Luchasaurus got injured last minute.
Yeah, and was that the reason why Private Party were put in and they ended up defeating the Young Bucks, right? First round or something?
I don't.
Because like my memory is a little hazy around that time because I knew it was SCU and Lucha Bros who were at the final. Is that correct?
Yes, SU and Lucha Bros.
And at that time, the Lucha Bros were heels, which
Um,
is weird.
yeah, they worked as heels, but over still with the crowd.
I mean, yeah, it's just because how great they are.
Yeah, but looking forward to that match, and I think it's a good addition because we have the Hangman and Danielson match, and adding this match, gives more importance to that show. Feels like a pay-per-view card now.
Yeah, it's really giving me Grand Slam vibes.
It definitely is. And you said three title matches, right?
Yeah, third one is the TBS title.
Which is happening on Rampage or
No,
Dynamite. What's
TBS. No, TBS title is also happening next week
Oh, the
on
TBS
like,
title. How can
of
I
course.
forget that?
Yeah, it's literally on TBS, the Dynamite premiere.
Uh, anyways, man. But moving on, another multi-man match. This is a trios match. This is Eddie Kingston. He was teaming up with Santana and Ortiz. So they're facing 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. So little bit shocker for me regarding the outcome because I thought this was going to be a blow off match. And what did you think about the outcome and the match itself? The match, it was there for me.
Yeah, the crowd was dead for this match. Maybe they were tired from the opener, or were like, or there was like no heat in this besides Kingston and Garcia, because 2.0 are, let's just say that they are more on the goofy side than, and they just kind of complement Garcia's seriousness. So with that being said, yeah, the crowd was completely non-existent, and these guys were just doing to do performing their moves to dead silence. And even with Garcia, like the main story was basically Garcia, who's like a youngster who's probably, I mean, not probably, he is wise beyond his years, and he was getting the better of Eddie Kingston, who's a veteran. And like it was, the story was mainly 2.0 and Daniel Garcia versus Eddie Kingston. So that was pretty much the entire match, where Garcia was just trying to, incite Eddie Kingston to attack him, but Eddie was losing his cool. And then these guys pick up the win. And after that, yeah, in that case, I would say like we'll get to the aftermath. But yeah, it was a shocking outcome, but at the same time, given what happened after, it's not really that surprising.
And yeah, what happened regarding the outcome? I think Daniel Garcia got a roll up pin on someone.
No, it was Jeff Parker who got a win on Santana.
Yeah,
But
for us,
yeah, even
yeah, something
yeah, it was
happened.
a roll up.
Yeah, which
It
was
was a roll up. It was a roll up.
you can call it a surprise roll up because, like I said, very shocker of a outcome. I thought the baby faces were going to get the win here, but then I realized there is a post match bit. So what happened was the heels were continuing the assault, and I think they used the ring bell and smashed it on Santana here. So after all that, the pyros go up. We hear Judas. Chris Jericho finally shows up. This was his return after a
With
couple of weeks. So
yes, and even Floyd returned, man, with Jericho.
yeah, I almost forgot about Floyd. So Floyd is back. Jericho is back. He runs out to the ring and almost trips, and the heels bail. So Jericho has a serious look on his face, and there you go, man. So after that, while Kingston is busy, checking on his best friend Santana here. So Jericho he was just kind of acting like he was concerned for Santana, but still he was gloating and posing to the crowd, while Judas is playing. Even Kingston took notice to it, and he decided to cut the music off. So he and Jericho had some verbal face off, and this led to Jericho and Kingston almost decided to fight, but Ortiz came in the middle to be the peacemaker. So there you go. So that's the story here, and I can see this match happening at Revolution.
If they, I mean, they can build up to it. to Revolution, but there's still a couple months from like next week. So I feel it'll be on any of these special episodes that they do for Dynamite, or whatever comes in, end of Jan or early Feb. But that being said, I mean, I can't wait for Eddie Kingston to tear Chris Jericho a new one, in his promos. And even when he was doing, the cut the music part and he was like trying to get into Jericho's face, it looked super real. And Eddie Kingston is like the guy who injects realism into pro wrestling, and he does it like with super conviction, and he does it like superbly. So in this case, like, it also felt genuine because, like, he was attending to his friends Santana and Ortiz, who were like viciously attacked by the heels, and Jericho had to wait for his music to just come out and do the run in and try to make the save for his boys. So maybe this is a story where hopefully we get to see Santana and Ortiz leave in a circle and join Eddie Kingston in some way, because I mean they have history, for better or worse. So I'm hoping that this is the outcome of that story, and also at the same time, I really can't wait for Eddie Kingston to just batter Chris Jericho both physically and verbally.
Hopefully, this makes Jericho a little bit relevant again,
Yeah, we've said this in the past like so many times that the only thing that is keeping Chris Jericho relevant now is his theme song.
which is sad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's hope for the best, man. I hope this doesn't turn out to be a feud that looks like it's promising, but it drags, and at the end of the day, it actually doesn't mean anything.
That's pretty much Chris Jericho's, post world title scene ever since. I mean, in AEW.
Yeah, I have made a comparison to the MJF feud. It was intriguing in the starting, kind of the interest level started to dip, but at least they ended on a good note at the All Out pay per view.
Also, the American top team stuff was nah there.
It was just there. You are right. And speaking about American top team, shall we talk about this Dan Lambert bit that we had on Dynamite?
Yep, sure.
So he was out there, cutting his usual Dan Lambert like promo. We had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page accompanying, Lambert here. So basically, he's shitting on Cody Rhodes. Like he promised that he was going to keep an eye on for the Sammy Guevara Cody Rhodes match. By the way, what did you think about Cody Rhodes winning the TNT Championship?
I kind of like it, to be honest.
Really?
Like, in a way, yes, because I'm expecting something drastic to happen. And, it's like a great expert level trolling from Cody Rhodes, him just trying to being a pseudo Triple H. And I mean, I was a little disappointed about Sammy losing, but I mean, the prospect of what Cody can do and the story that they're trying to say, like, he's not a heel, he's not a baby face, and the crowd hates him. So it might lead him to, eventually embracing the dark side, or what. Like, I'm intrigued to see what they do with it eventually. But that being said, yeah, I mean, they're just trolling at this point, but I can't wait to see what the actual end goal is of Cody winning the TNT championship. So it's somewhat in the middle, but at the same time, like, I'm more curious than disappointed, to put it in a more simpler term.
You're just excited because Cody Rhodes is somewhat of an intriguing character. Will he turn heel or not? On that basis, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But Sammy Guevara, I don't know. He could have retained. I actually wanted him to retain, but I get where you're
Like,
going with the Cody
personally,
Rhodes. Yeah.
yes. Yes, I mean, heading into this match, I wanted Sami to retain because it was only his fifth title defense, and his title reign also was just, sadly, it was just there. He just had four matches, and besides that, like, most of his reign was into that whole American top team shit. So it kind of took its impact away of him being a champion, and the title was just relegated to the background. So because of that, I thought that he didn't really get a chance to develop himself, neither did the championship part. Now that it's with Cody, who's like, a very prominent figure in AEW. So in that case, it's more intriguing to see where it eventually goes.
So, what happened? We were talking about this bit with Dan Lambert here. So he's just sitting on Cody Rhodes. He says that he sucks up to the boss, Tony Khan. He regularly
Khan
mentions
man.
Tony Khan, like shitting on Tony Khan being the, like he kind of buries Dan Lambert during. You get my rift, right? And he talks about even Arn Anderson said that Lambert actually looked up to Anderson in the past. He was a horseman, everything, but he's sucking up to Cody Rhodes. And he talks about Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo looks like a Transformer logo, which was a good line.
He wasn't wrong about that.
You don't like Cody Rhodes' tattoo?
Oh, I hate it.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, it's grown on me now. It's just that it looked weird then. It still looks weird to me.
Yeah, it's in the wrong
But who
place.
am I to argue? Yeah. Like someone had written he got a neck tattoo on the chest and a chest tattoo on the neck, which
Wow.
is pretty accurate.
So basically, shitting on Cody Rhodes, and this led to Brandi Rhodes on the mic after a while, and she said, "Who told you
Ugh.
this was open mic night, bitch?" So from
Yes.
there, she is shitting on Dan Lambert and calls him a less talented Paul Heyman. Like nobody
Which was a
informed
good
me.
line.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ridwan, but nobody informed me that this was shoot season. Again.
Yes, it is somewhat shoot season whenever Dan Lambert is around. And I thought that line was a bit hilarious because, he was just like, he's just being a shooty guy, Dan Lambert. And then his reply was like, yeah, no, I prefer Jim Cornette, which is basically what Dan Lambert's character is. So I thought that exchange was a little hilarious, but it goes downhill from there.
And he said, Brandy said something like, "Have you ever, you know, got beaten by a woman?" And somewhat of like, can you help me with this one?
Okay, I mean, it's going to sound a little controversial
You
from
are
what
not quoting this.
it
This is Brandy's words.
yeah, these are Brandy's words,
Yeah.
but she meant was like very controversial. And this just like after that Paul Heyman Jim Cornette line, this promo just goes downhill as if it wasn't going already.
Yeah. Go for it,
So
Ridwan.
like he's okay. So Brandy tells him that, have you ever gotten beaten up by a woman and you didn't get paid for it? Which is basically, I wouldn't say. And then this guy Dan Lambert was like, if I'm getting to beat up a woman for free, then I'll just do it. And it just descended into misogynistic quotes, like they were calling Brandy a stripper, and just because of the name. And then then he was just Dan Lambert was just flaunting his like, I'm a black belt, and then Brandy is like, if you're a black belt, I'm a black bitch. And then they just like throw the mic down and trying to fight, and then both Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky were trying to pull Dan Lambert behind. And then our boy Dustin Rhodes shows up, and he was trying to protect Brandy, and then he gets attacked by Page and Sky, and then the heels leave. So that was the entire segment, and it wasn't very good. It was blah.
Mm, I get what you're saying. Like very controversial lines and remarks. But I have to say, man, Brandy Rhodes has actually a mic presence. She has a little oomph.
She does. She does. I actually kind of like Brandy Rhodes, and like some of her stuff that she's tried to do have all gone into the wayside. Like I am like directly referring to the Nightmare Collective or whatever that
Yeah,
was,
remember that?
but that was like ages ago, and it was horrible then. It's still horrible now. But the only plus side of it is we got to see our boy Luther there.
Ah, that's the way he debuted, right?
Yeah, and Luther's presence has been a blessing to my eyes. So that's the only good thing to come out of that thing. But after that, I think Brandy was, yeah, she was there. Like she had some story with the bunny who was Ali then, and with Jake the Snake, and she's been involved in Cody's feuds more or less, like whatever had happened, with Brody, with Archer, and then after that, I think she gets pregnant and then she's off. I'm trying to remember if there were more, but that being said, yes, like you said, Brandy has a mic presence and she is pretty good with that. It's a shame that whenever she tries a little too hard, it just falls by the wayside and it becomes uninteresting really quick.
But the this is all leading towards a TNT title match on this week's Rampage, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it's already been taped though, and
So,
I don't know what the results are. I don't want to read the spoilers, but I'm hoping that it's a good match.
so Cody Rhodes is defending the title against Ethan Page. Yeah, should be a good match. So basically, Cody is going to feud with Man of the Year for a while, and then we have to see what's next.
Yes, and a fun fact is that both Cody and Ethan Page were tag champions in the independent scene.
Really?
Yep. This was after Cody left WWE. Like he was on this independent streak, wrestling people like Mike Bennett, Kurt Angle, and even in What Culture Pro Wrestling. So at that time, like in one of the independent promotions, him and Ethan Page were tag champions.
But we'll have to wait and see. And do you have a feeling that Cody Rhodes could be a transitional champion?
I think that is the reason why he got the belt, but not sure why. I mean, who can he drop it to? Because I feel that Ethan Page is still, he's great. We always speak highly of how great of a talent Ethan Page is on the mic and in the ring. But, the American top team stuff has, put him down a little, with all due respect. So I feel that, he needs to probably get a little up there. I'd say he was ready to become TNT champion when he was feuding with Darby Allin because that feud really made Ethan Page in AEW, with all due respect. And now, ever since being a part of American Top Team, it has slightly gone down, but let's see where that goes.
We'll have to wait and see. But another, I just realized there are potential guys that could take the title of Cody. One being
Yes, I have.
Miro. He is still stuck in the multiverse somewhere, waiting for him to come back. I can see him getting another TNT title run. You can call Andrade. You already have somewhat of a story between him and Cody, and he could be a great candidate to take the title of Cody.
I have someone in mind though already,
Shoot.
which we'll get to No, we'll get to it eventually on the show itself.
Okay, but let's move on. Let's talk about MJF. He had a little promo
Literally,
backstage. Wait, is this the guy?
yes.
Okay, get to that. But let's talk about the promo he did. So he was backstage with Wardlow. Actually, Wardlow was actually preparing for his match. So in this promo is basically talking about CM Punk, and the breaking news here is that he claims that he's done with CM Punk, and he also talks about what happened in the six-man match where he claims Sting made he called Sting a outlaw rookie or something like that because for almost
Because
killing
he
him in that
was,
match.
yes, that bump, man. Holy shit. I got scared. Because
And
he just from the ring side, I mean, from the ring ropes, he just jumped straight onto the floor and he jumped like this. So that was very scary. And he was a little dazed even during the match, and he was selling it pretty well, even if he wasn't completely dazed. But yeah, it was scary.
so he talks about CM Punk calls him yesterday's news, and he wants to move on, and wants to achieve his ultimate goal, and that's to get Pretty Platinum, that is the AEW World Championship. And he talks about talks to Wardlow and tells him to settle down for now. stop the power bomb swan song that he's been doing lately.
Symphony.
Yeah, the power bomb symphony bit. So there was something where he mentioned to Wardlow to get more wins so that he can advance in the face of the Revolution ladder match that will happen at the pay-per-view itself. So there was something where he said once and you get the victories so that I can advance in the Revolution ladder match, something like that. Like the thing he mentioned was he doesn't want just the world championship, but he has also set his sights on the TNT championship. So Wardlow was a little confused with this. So MJF decided to call out our boy Smart
Main
Mark.
Mark Callis.
No, I was about to mess it up. Smart Mark Sterling. So he reads out a long
Yes.
contract in 0.25 speed. So once this was done, Spears decided to kick Mr. Sterling out. So that was just the promo. MJF says he's done with Punk. He wants championship, not just the world title, but the TNT title. So that was a big breaking news here. So you said that MJF should be the one to take the title of Cody, right?
Yes.
That's a interesting, choice. But what do you think about this overall thing? Where we'll get to the CM Punk bit, but both men have decided to, say that this current thing that they're doing is done. They want to move on.
Yes. I feel that this is a good way to eventually put the brakes on this feud, because like a match of this caliber, like a feud, basically a feud of this caliber between someone like MJF, who we know how great he is, and CM Punk, we know he's a legend. So both of these deserve a pay-per-view match, and it is only feasible to put it on Revolution or probably Double or Nothing. If because if MJF wants to qualify for the face of the Revolution match, and I thought that this is a good way to stretch it out. Like they just decided to pause it, and they'll get back to it sometime when MJF wants, when both of them want to. So I feel that this is a good way to just separate the two for now, because they can concentrate on what they want to do for what one shit sorry what they want to do, and after that they can eventually revisit it whenever they feel like. So it's fine by me. But should I give my thoughts on the whole Wardlow situation, or should I wait for the match?
We know what's going on with the Wardlow situation that you were about to describe, but I'm little, scratching my head on how, if they pull the trigger on this, how will MJF go after the TNT championship right now?
Uh, Maybe they can wait it out, because if I'm Wardlow, like how our boy Smart Mark Sterling mentioned that it was written in Wardlow's contract. Excuse me. Yeah, that whatever Wardlow wins, all his championship opportunities, his merch sales, his commissions, or anything that he earns, he has to relinquish it to MJF, and he's just a guy for hire at the end of the day. So it is a little insulting, and also plants more seeds into the Wardlow face turn, which is going to happen like very soon. I'm expecting it by like how you mentioned, if MJF wants to qualify for the face of the Revolution ladder match, and if he's unsuccessful, then I think that's the time you can pull the trigger on Wardlow's face turn.
And
And it's high time they do it.
the visual of MJF versus Cody Rhodes again. This time, the dynamic is very different from what they were doing 2 years ago.
Mm, Yeah, almost 2 years ago. It was it was literally Revolution 2020. Yeah, the last show they did for the pandemic.
And yeah, babyface MJF beating Cody Rhodes. That would be great, I
Wait, how
guess.
how is MJF a babyface now?
What is Cody Rhodes?
He's a tweener, more or less.
But he's going to get a hero's reaction whenever this match happens.
Yeah, I mean that's there. It's just that MJF is only a face in Long Island, nowhere else.
Do you think right now how people are treating Cody Rhodes that they're going to cheer Cody and not do the opposite reaction to MJF?
I mean, that's more on the fan side, like what the fans want to enjoy in that particular moment. But I was talking more on the character sense that MJF is like a very detestable heel.
But anyways, should be good, and I'm actually looking forward to it if that happens. But moving on, we just mentioned Wardlow. He had a match here on Dynamite. He was facing, I think I'm going to butcher this name, Colin Deleaney.
Delaney, but yeah,
Yeah, he is
it's good.
one of the most respected jobbers in our sport.
Very much so. Like he was in ECW, like WWE ECW. He was like a protege of Tommy Dreamer, and then he was on this James Ellsworth like run. He was just a jobber there. He was getting big wins here and there, and he was after that, he was just released. And he has made a few appearances on Dark and Elevation in the past. So this was his first Dynamite match after yeah.
So this was one of those quick squash matches for Wardlow. A bunch of power bombs. The power bomb symphony. He hit about 4 to 5 here. What's the exact number?
Four.
So
Yeah.
four power bombs, and that was it. Got the quick victory, and I think you can see through these matches that they want Wardlow to kind of get a Goldberg like push and get that same reaction. Like crowd are actually getting into Wardlow power bombing a poor bloke every week.
And Wardlow's been getting over with the crowd as is, and they both Spears and MJF are trying asking him not to go for that, but Wardlow does anyway, and then he gets on the bad side, and also Sean Spears being a chair pervert, just beating them and all sucking up to MJF as well. So that's also a story that they're doing. So when Wardlow eventually splits, I feel that his first feud is going to be Sean Spears, and then like Sean Spears is going to be a proxy for MJF until he gets to the real piece.
I think this is a good, you could say, story progression.
Yeah, and they've been doing this forever, like probably since Wardlow lost to Cody in that cage match. Since then MJF has been constantly verbally harassing him ever since. And I just got an idea of how they can do a split from Wardlow and MJF.
Go on, man.
Yeah, so like how MJF has been qualifying for the TNT Championship, like he can, or if he can win or something.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Wardlow, with his undefeated streak, is also rising up the ranks in like in the World Championship picture. So what if there's a way that someone like Tony Khan or any way someone interjects themselves, and with Wardlow gaining these constant wins goes on to face Hangman, and both Wardlow and Hangman have a minor history between each other. So he gets a title match with Hangman, and MJF gets jealous, and that's also planting another seed, and then we get to that revolution bit where MJF is unsuccessful to win his title opportunity, and that's when they do the split.
That would be good, but the main goal is there should be somewhat of a drift between MJF and Wardlow, and I think that would be great. And right now, what they are doing with Wardlow is also like planting of the seeds for potentially what could happen is also great in my opinion.
Yeah.
But moving on, let's talk about the Elite. So they were doing a promo. This was Adam Cole and the Young Bucks. They are joined by Bobby Fish and the new guy in town, the Kyle O'Reilly. So the Young Bucks are a little disappointed at Adam Cole for at Kyle O'Reilly because they haven't actually talked for a week since Kyle debuted last week. So Kyle, in a very sarcastic manner, was just greeting the Young Bucks, "Hi, Young Bucks," something like that. So this is the main story here. Like both these tag teams are basically like what's the word I'm looking for? Adam Cole is the middle guy in both these teams here.
Mhm. Bit of a love triangle in a way,
You
or
can
a love pentagon.
you can say that. And on that note, what did you feel about how they did the Kyle O'Reilly debut? Like it was being built as a surprise, but now they are going into, like you said, the love triangle bit. Should they have,
Hmm. The
instead of that, should they have just turned on the Bucks right there and then?
no, because you need a certain reason for Adam Cole to split from the Bucks. I mean, you have that story, you have that reason, of how Adam Cole was betrayed by the Bucks, and then he came back and he just joined them. And like we all are expecting Adam Cole to be the mole in the situation, and he's getting his own guys to turn on the Elite. So, and I don't think it was a good time for them to make the turn last week. You need more story progression to eventually get to that point, and probably even if Kenny returns and when he does. So this is good. They were going to stretch this out more or less. But that being said, I thought that his debut was done very well, because the only way you could have slotted him in was, reuniting Red Dragon. And at this point, Bobby Fish is also aligned with Adam Cole and the Bucks. So this was done really, really well, in my opinion.
And really great to see the undisputed era on AEW.
You mean with the addition of Roderick Strong, or just the way they are right now?
At least we are getting to see the original incarnation of this group.
I mean, that's there, but now I'm slowly started to get around, them and the undisputed era. But it seems like they were a super group in ROH as well.
Were they? I don't remember.
I'm not sure, because I saw a picture of the three of them with Adam Cole holding the world championship and Red Dragon holding the tag championship, and they were together. So I'm not sure if they were a group. I don't
I don't
think
think
so,
so.
but yeah, that picture was somewhat of a thing.
Because
But
you're talking about
yeah,
their ROH run, right?
yeah, ROH.
Um, I think I don't have a lot of knowledge regarding ROH, but I would say that O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, they were a legit tag team, the Dragons. We all know that. Adam Cole was
Also,
actually at that time. Adam Cole was actually jumping factions. At one point, he was in Kingdom. Then he went into singles guy. Then he made the transition to Bullet Club. That was what's going on ROH during that time.
yes, and also, like when both O'Reilly and Cole started, they were a tag team called Future Shock.
Yeah, this was before the Adam Cole we see right now.
Yeah, like when both of them started, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so regarding this bit with the elite, I don't know, they should be careful because it's kind of in the middle. Like, you could get the fans interested, and at the same time, the fans would really not care about this.
I mean, I think they will, because it's Adam Cole and the Bucks. So no matter what they do, the fans have their eyes glued on them. So even with this Super Click and Jurassic Express stuff, they were like, it was getting a little, slightly little comedy territory, but they were still doing. I mean, they were still gaining attention from the fans. Even the whole Dark Order, the Bud stuff that they did, even that was like, they had the fans invested. So I see. I mean, even this is going to be good enough in that case.
But moving on, they did a small preview for this match on Rampage. This is Ty Conti and Anna J versus Penelope Ford and the Bunny. So they are having a street fight, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
So there's that. Let's talk about the TBS TBS title tournament. This was the final semi-final match. So we have Thunder Rosa facing Jade Cargill, and you being a big Marvel guy, I assume you are. What was the outfit or inspiration behind Thunder Rosa's gear?
I mean, I'm not big of a Marvel nerd. Like, I love Marvel over DC, but I was more on, like, from what I could tell, it was Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Yes, with the blades, but I could be wrong on that. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big comic book guy, but it could be that. I think it was. Wait, just hold on.
But let's talk about the match itself. It was decent, and you could say it was a big match, a long match actually for Jade Cargill. Like they
Yeah.
tried to tell a story here with Thunder Rosa actually working on Jade's leg.
Hello.
Did I lost you? Wait, can you hear me, Ridwan?
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Are you sure?
Yes. 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 I'm great.
Okay. We were actually talking
It
about
was
yeah this match where
Wolverine.
yeah where like I was saying Jade Cargill sorry Thunder Rosa was actually working on Jade's leg, so I think we had a situation where Thunder Rosa had a injured back. She also wore some tape for that, and decent match overall, but I don't know, man. Jade Cargill looked little off here. What did you think?
I mean, yes. You couldn't say anything less than that because she's been only mostly wrestling squash matches, and like this was something that Excalibur said. Okay, so he was like, "This is the first time that we've seen Jade Cargill being pushed to the limit." I'm like, because Thunder Rosa can actually fucking wrestle. So yeah, this match was fine, to be honest. Like, it was good in parts when Thunder Rosa was mostly selling for Jade Cargill, and you could see Jade's inexperience was showing clearly in this match, and I was scared. There was like some strikes that she was doing. It looked very nasty on Rosa, and there was also a part where Thunder Rosa slipped while she was doing a move from the second turnbuckle, and besides that, yeah, I thought this match was okay, like passable match. But I was really rooting for Thunder Rosa. I wanted her to win the TBS championship, but I think she has like a bigger fish to fry now that we know what happened.
Yeah, so as we get to the final parts of the match, like Thunder Rosa is on offense, there was some distraction with Mark Sterling and the referee. So they were having a little back and forth. So while this distraction is going on, some like a hooded figure. Actually, what happened actually? Was that a weapon that was used on Thunder Rosa?
It felt like a bottle that was smashed on Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, right. Like she like if some foreign object was used, like I think it was a bottle or something like that. So once this was done, Jade Cargill took the advantage here. She hit the jaded finisher, got the win. Thunder Rosa is pinned. Jade Cargill is moving on to the finals. So there you go. And post match, Thunder Rosa attacked Jade Cargill. So this hooded figure actually came back. So it was basically a 2-on-1 beatdown on Thunder Rosa. So finally, this hooded mystery person actually, decided to, take off the mask. And once she took off the hoodie, I shouted, Mercedes, Mercedes. It was Mercedes Martinez who was the, mystery person here. So they continued their assault on Thunder Rosa, but Ruby Soho came out for the save. So yeah, man, Mercedes Martinez is all elite. What did you think about that?
It's high time that she got a better spot than where she was. And she's been wrestling for like 21, 22 years. And I think this is the place where she's finally get to be who she is on a more global stage, and it's a great addition as it is. The AEW women's division just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And yeah, happy to see her in AEW now.
Yeah, Tony Khan signing Mercedes Martinez is a better decision than the entire Queen's Crown tournament.
There's your Queen's Crown reference of the week.
And about that topic, like Tony Khan actually had a opportunity, man, in the initial days to sign Mercedes Martinez. She even made an appearance for them at the first
All out.
women's, oh yeah, women's casino battle royal. That was the first all out.
Yep. Yes,
He
and she was the Joker card, right?
Yeah, he had the opportunity to sign her because at the time she was doing indies, showing up on NXT as a free agent, got the opportunity to do appearance for AEW as well. But I think Tony Khan actually didn't care for her at that time, and the Triple H signed her.
Oh, yes, and also she wanted to go to WWE as far as I know.
Yeah, at that time because that was a really a option. NXT was still somewhat hot at that time, but then you know what happened.
Yeah, and that was like the peak time where they were holding talents just so that they don't go to AEW. But now, with pandemic, it bit them in the ass, and now they're just happily letting people go. That being said, okay, that being said, there's a good chance we might see Tony Storm in AEW in probably 3 months' time.
Another great addition.
Oh, excellent.
Like Mercedes Martinez is so great overall. Tony Storm could actually be a legend star in that division.
Yes, and also, she'll get a place to shine as it is, and she'll be happy there somewhat because like ever since moving to the main roster, she was unhappy. She was clearly unhappy, and apparently she quit instead of her getting released. She requested for it, which was I thought it was a brave move. And now I think yeah, she does live in the US right now, so it'll be easy for her to just make the jump to Jacksonville, and where she'll be like loved and respected more for her wrestling. So it's going to be awesome.
I really want to know what was the reason she asked for the release. Was it creative or personal stuff?
I mean, I don't want to speculate on that, but I think the reason's pretty clear why.
Creative.
Yes,
In that
like
case,
she used to
if
get
if it if it
pie face.
yeah, if it turns out to be the creative one, then huge respect for Tony Storm, and this is how all the talents in WWE should be. Speak up.
Yeah, she just like fuck this, and she just went home apparently. So mucho respect is what I'll say.
But let's get back to this Jade Cargill bit. So let's do our predictions, man. Jade Cargill or Ruby Soho for the TBS title.
I hope it's Ruby Soho, but it's pretty much Jade Cargill.
There's actually nothing wrong with Jade Cargill getting the title, but
Yeah,
I see this match and then I reconsider my option, man.
yeah. I mean, it's the whole point of TBS Championship is like it's the workhorse belt, and it's going to be on. It's an open challenge one where anyone can challenge for the championship, and if Jade Cargill wins, then you're booking yourself into a corner because you don't want to make her lose instantly, nor after, given the build that she has leading into becoming a TBS champion. So how can you make her lose the title, and also how can you do it effectively? And you're not going to do it anytime soon, and it'll all just come crumbling down. So, and it's like I said, it's more of a workhorse belt. So it will get its opportunity of being defended, like almost every 2 weeks or something.
I'm picking Ruby Soho to get the championship next week.
I'm predicting Jade, but I kind of want Ruby Soho to win, and that was the reason. Like I said, with the workhorse stuff, that was the reason why I was rooting for Thunder Rosa as well.
We'll have to wait and see. That's next week. We have yet another match booked for the TBS debut. Malakai Black versus Bryan Pillman Jr.
Yes.
And we got to hear from Pillman Jr. So she wanted the in-ring interview, and Pillman actually cut a really passionate promo, man.
Yeah, he did cut a passion promo, but the first part of it, man, the crowd was completely dead until he just started shouting. He's like, yeah, and he's just like, I don't know, what did he say exactly that he spoke so, like, he shouted, and then the crowd was like, yeah. And then he's like, he was telling about his dad, like, I never got to see my father, but the fact that you only get one. And then he's like, I'm going to bring the fight to you. I'm Bryan Pillman Jr. and that's what I'm fighting for, my family, yada yada.
Yeah,
I thought this promo was done very well, actually. Like, it was a very good promo. Just the first portion, the crowd was kind of dead, which took it a little away, to be honest.
so the story here is Julia Hart is been quote unquote killed. Griff Garrison has been quote unquote killed. So the final guy is Bryan Pillman Jr. He is deciding to walk in the House of Black. So Black versus Pillman Jr. next week. And yeah, Malakai Black also showed up. The lights go out, and he was on the stage just pointing out Pillman Jr. there. Almost thought we were going to see a Brody King debut.
Yeah, that's a good chance. I mean, it could happen next week because it's a big show and they'll just, go hell for leather for that. But did you notice something when Malakai disappeared?
I did. The lights went back out. He was. He
And
was.
he's just walking.
Yeah. The visual. The visual should be. The visual should be. He should disappear. But the camera caught him walking off, like little minor botch there.
Yeah, it was hilarious though.
But anyways, man, this match is happening, and I think it's a good, could say, rebuilding process for Malakai after the Cody feud.
Oh yeah, he's looked like a killer ever since that feud ever happened. I mean, that feud concluded because it did its job of corrupting Cody one, and ever since he's been on a bit of a tear. So he's tearing through the. I was going to say Nightmare Factory. What are they? Varsity Blondes. So that's the thing that's happening. So he's already quote unquote killed both Julia and Griff. Now Pillman Jr.'s turn is this.
But let's talk about Sammy Guevara. He was on the show. He did the cue card bit, talking about
Yep.
his long title. No, not long title reign. No, his TNT title reign, where he was beating about at least 4 to 5 opponents in straight weeks, like Lethal, Tony Nese, Ethan Page, and he said he will be he wants another shot against Cody Rhodes. So there is a possibility you could see Cody Rhodes and Guevara again.
Yes, and also in that case, Guevara, what do you say? They could run a story similar to how they run a story between Cody and Darby, of how Darby was never able to beat Cody Rhodes and he eventually did for the big one. So they could probably do something similar in that case, which would be good,
Oh,
to say the least.
in that case, Cody will be the transitional champion that we were talking about.
In a way, yeah. Probably now or somewhere later down the line.
We'll have to wait and see. But let's talk about the main man here, like Mussolini and Kennedy. CM Punk. He was out. This was actually his first appearance in Daily's Place. The commentators actually made a big deal about it. So they were talking about at one point at the pandemic area, we didn't even think about CM Punk showing up here, and he's finally here. So he was actually talking about Daily's Place, how this actually is a important venue for AEW. Talks about the Brody Lee thing, like he was watching the
Yeah,
tribute show, how they treated that man, and God, I miss Brody.
yeah, me too, man. The in fact, my main memory of Daily's Place will be what the the tribute show that they did for Brody, and also all of Brody's run in AEW was in Daily's Place, which is a bit sad because he was supposed to debut as Dark Order's leader. It was supposed to be in Rochester, but that's when the pandemic struck hard, and he ended up being like doing his entire AEW run in Daily's Place.
And also, we welcome back Jim Ross. Good little shout out to him. Said everyone missed him and basically putting over JR in this moment. And then he talks about MJF. He heard what MJF had to what words he had for for Punk like a couple of hours ago. So he also said that if MJF is ducking and dodging him, then the Punk said that MJF is a waste of time for him, and even Punk is decided to move on from him because he then hit the a line that he mentioned in the original pipe bomb, like on this mic in this ring even in commentary I'm the best.
Nobody can, and nobody
Nobody
can
can touch
touch
him.
me.
That is, I actually love that line because I think when I was watching WWE back then on TV regularly, we used to get those promo packages, if you could remember, for
Hmm.
a certain superstar.
Yeah, before the ad break,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They would
Yeah,
always
I think
play
they still do.
Punk's promo packages, and that line is always stuck in my brain.
Yes, I think they used to do for Jeff Hardy as well. Like, I'm Jeff Hardy, and then he used to just jump from places. And Edge also, even Edge, like they used to do. He was just walking around like a pervert, and then he's just spearing people. He's like, "My name is Edge," and yeah. So it's that really refreshes some good memory. What you just said, like
And you know what my favorite ad or commercial was? The do not try this one, where we would hear every wrestler
Rey
talking about their,
Mysterio,
yeah, every wrestler
Rey
talking about their
Mysterio.
injuries, and we would hear Rey Mysterio. I had 9 surgeries in my left knee.
Yeah, and that has been a meme ever since, because even if I check out any wrestling YouTuber who's covering a Rey Mysterio match, and then Rey Mysterio somehow lands on his knee, so they just mention, yeah, and then Rey Mysterio takes a bump on his knee, and then they just continue with their stuff.
But back to the CM Punk promo. He even also said now that he has moved on from MJF, he also wants gold. He wants to become AEW World Champion. That was the entire promo. So, like we mentioned, it is good for now that they are keeping this feud on ice so that you could move on from maybe having some title feuds or something like that.
Hmm.
Hey, by the way, can you see
So
CM Punk in the TNT title pitch?
I was thinking of it when I was giving my case for MJF becoming TNT champion. So probably CM Punk would be a decent addition, but I feel that he has a bigger fish to fry. I feel like he's more on the world championship side, but I wouldn't be against him becoming TNT champion.
I think he fits in the world title picture more
Yeah, he does.
because you can't have CM
But
Punk if imagine CM Punk becomes TNT champion. You can't have him have this guy wrestle every week on TV.
if you want, maybe Danielson would be a decent addition, decent choice for that.
I would take Danielson over Punk for a TNT title run.
Yeah, like he's the wrestler's wrestler is probably the best way to put Bryan Danielson.
But we'll have to wait and see. And did I mention you that I am actually not a big fan of the Face of the Revolution ladder match because it's a ladder match.
No, but go on.
Like you could save this type of gimmick matches for special occasion. Then we are going into
And
the WWE route where October it's Hell in a Cell, February Elimination Chamber, December TLC.
Yeah, in a way, yes, but like the it's like a bastardized version of Money in the Bank in a way.
Yeah, you got the Sonic Ring instead.
Yeah. It's like it's the brass ring is what they were saying, right? When
Yeah,
last year the match happened.
yeah, pretty weird
I
match.
thought that yeah, that last year's match was somewhat good. I'd say like they got Max Caster to shine as a solo act, and he was doing really well.
And there's where Cody Rhodes' heel thing actually started to brew.
Yes, and Cody was taken out of the match, and he was just chilling in the entrance stage. You could clearly see him, like he's just lying down, and then the crowd was booing that as well.
Yeah, Revolution 2021 was pretty weird.
I mean, yes, even like people mainly remember it for the main event for unfortunate reasons.
But moving on, I think we are getting Anthony Bowens was Darby Allen for this week's Rampage. They did a small preview, getting a promo out of both these teams here. So, and I think they kind of mentioned that Darby Allen and Sting are in the rankings, in the tag team rankings.
Yeah, they're in top five apparently.
Oh, so a future title contention. Not getting the titles on these two guys,
Yes,
but at least challenging for them.
similar to Mox and Eddie becoming a tag team.
Mm, okay, I actually don't mind it because they are actually a pretty entertaining tag team. Sting can still go somewhat of, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and and that doesn't mean you put Sting in with the Lucha Bros. That would be a disaster, in my opinion.
no, probably by that time we'd get Jurassic Express.
Mm, we'll have to wait and
That
see.
that's going to be that would be an entertaining match seeing Luchasaurus and Sting interact, similar to how Sting and Orange Cassidy interacted back then.
Actually, I think if you have Darby and Sting ranked in the rankings, you have something for Darby Allen here. He could go after the
Hmm.
tag titles, so should be good.
Yeah, it will be great. Darby and Bowens will be a good match because Bowens has really been stepping up as a good, solo wrestler, and his match with Danielson was like a good put a shining light on him. And also there was another, I think, yeah, there was an 8-man tag or something, if you remember, where there was, I think, the Varsity Blondes and Jurassic Express versus the Acclaimed and another team.
I don't
So
know.
we
I
had
actually
that
missed
match.
two rampages a couple of weeks.
No, no, no. It was on Dynamite. We had covered this match.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm,
So that was like that's where Anthony Bones really stood by himself, or like say shined on his own. So that was where people started to take notice of how good he can be. And this match with Darby is also just another step in the right direction for him.
yeah, that's happening on Rampage. You want to do a small preview for it? Like what we have for Rampage this week?
Yes. So we have this match, it's Darby and Bowens, where even Darby, they had that exchange. He's like the main event tag team. We should be in the main event, and we are not even in the top five. And then Darby is like, I can wrestle anywhere I want. I'm just happy to wrestle. Challenge accepted. So we have this match. We have the street fight between Bunny and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jane Ty Conti, and we have the TNT Championship match between Cody and Ethan Page. So yeah.
Bro, how can you forget about the main event? We have a technique by Taz, and this is regarding
Yes,
Hook the Crook.
the crook.
Should be a good one, man.
Yes. Oh man, I love how Taz calls his matches because basically it's Taz doing the play-by-play stuff, right? So he's like, "Oh, bro, it's either he's locking the Koji like Juji Kitami, bro, and then he just hits him with the suplex. He's like, yeah, that's the El Camino, bro. He just calls each and every single moves a hook, and it's good to see. It's like kind of beautiful because like the father and son relationship. Speaking of Taz, we also had a promo from Ricky Starks where he's just basically wanting to kill Dante Martin, and he's like, if you eliminating me in the Dynamite Diamond ring battle royal, you just killed your chances of winning it, and you just killed your chances of having a good career as well. And then Hobbs is like, oh, you really want to mess with us again? Didn't you remember what happened the last time I faced you? And then it cuts to the match that they had when Dante was climbing up the ranks, when when people started to take notice of him as a wrestler. So this could be a match somewhere, probably next week on Rampage or the week after on Dynamite. So I'm liking this Dante and Ricky Starks feud, or Dante and Team Taz feud, which could eventually or hopefully lead to Darius returning. And excited for to see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this feud after all the hook hype we have been getting for the weeks.
Yes, and speaking of Hook, did you notice, like, did you see like the post match stuff on Rampage where Hook slaps Cody Rhodes after he wins the TNT Championship?
Really?
Yeah,
How did I miss
they
that one?
had an they had a segment after the show,
Yeah, Hook is becoming a legend in front of our eyes.
and it's lovely to see that.
And this guy has, I think he's the number one merch guy in AEW right now.
Yeah, apparently he outsold CM Punk. What the fuck?
Uh, on that note, I want a original Hook shirt by AEW.
Yes, I hope they somewhat. I hope they start selling in India.
Do you need to check out Walmart or Target, man?
There's no Walmart or Target here, so
That's a pretty shame, if you ask me.
I mean, let them do what they want, right?
But moving on, man. Let's talk about the main event. Are we missing something?
No, no, no. We've covered the Ricky Starks promo was the only thing we missed. Or yes, if you want to cover the Hangman and Danielson, the promo package that they did.
Nothing much on just preview, I guess, for the match. What do you think about
Yep.
them adding the judges? If it goes to a draw again, they have the judges deciding the winner here.
Yes. I don't remember. Like I remember them doing for Jericho versus Cody, the judges bit, but I just came across something recently where they had a 60-minute draw, and then there were judges after. I think it was a 98 WCW episode.
Yeah, we had some
Yeah, I
60-minute
guess so.
draws over there.
Yes, and that's when I think Dean Malenko or Benoit was one of the judges for a match. I don't exactly remember what it was. Like I've been recently watching the OSW review of the Ultimate Warrior in WCW story arc. So that's where I saw it happen, but I don't remember who was that, like whose match it was to have those judges for
Maybe
the
a Ric
second
Flair
bout.
match.
No, it wasn't Ric Flair because Flair wasn't there by that time. Like he had returned after.
Who was doing 60
I
minutes
don't
back then if
know.
there was no Ric Flair?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. But, anyways, my main question is, will this go to a 60-minute draw as well?
No,
No?
but I have a feeling it'll kick. It'll be the first match on the card because they've been explicitly mentioning that it's the first match to kick off the TBS era on Dynamite, and if that's the case, then they'll put the TBS title match on main event because of course TBS.
I don't mind them, opening or main eventing. I was thinking that they're going to open with the tag title match. You could have the world title match in the main event.
Yeah, but the TBS title is also there, and you really need to crown the first champion for the channel. Might as well.
We'll have to wait and see how that works. But I think there is a chance, 90% chance, that this also goes to a draw as well.
I don't know. What
But
do we do with it?
overall, pretty excited for this match as well. It should be another classic, you could say.
Yep.
Yeah, that week is going to be hectic because I don't know what's going to happen at Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh fuck! Right. It's like Wrestle Kingdom is three days at this point.
Yeah,
It's
the
like first
the third week,
the two
sorry,
days
the
plus.
third, yeah, the third night is pretty underwhelming for
Mm,
the Nova versus New Japan show.
yeah.
Like it feels like pretty long book that match. Sorry, the card.
Yeah. It's all tag matches
Yeah, pretty good introduction
mostly.
for me as a newbie for Nova.
Hmm. I mean, there are a few really good Noah matches, like some legendary ones in the past. There was one very recent, like in smack bang in the middle of COVID. That's my only exposure to Noah, and besides that, like not much.
But let's talk about this AEW Dynamite main event. This is the quote unquote undisputed era. Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and this is actually the in-ring debut of Kyle O'Reilly. So they are facing Orange Cassidy and Best Friends. This was a entertaining trios match. What did you think about it?
Oh, this was awesome. Like they were just they weren't stopping. Is the way I would put it in a very simpler way. But yeah, I mean, this match ruled. Like so much good stuff happening. Like there was just spots left, right, and center. Some really brutal looking hits from Trent and Kyle O'Reilly. So I thought that was a good matchup. And of course, Orange Cassidy doing Orange Cassidy things. And I'd say this was a good showcase. Or if there was someone who shone bright in this match, was Chuck Taylor with his aerial offenses. And man, he's got the best pile driver in AEW, I'd say.
Yeah, there was a point where Adam Cole ate not one but two pile drivers
Yes,
back
and
to back.
after that he just gets hit with a back to back, and then he gets hit with a beach breaker right after.
Yeah, there was a time where one pile driver was deadly. Now this guy is eating back to back. Like what the fuck?
Bro, Canadian destroyers are like very desensitized now. So a pile driver is what is a pile driver then? And Canadian destroyer is also a version of pile driver. Just putting it out there.
But this match was entertaining. But there was some story here. Like I didn't mention this in the promo that the elite did. Like they are still continuing. It seems the Kyle O'Reilly Adam Cole drift because I think Adam Cole turned on Kyle O'Reilly this year only, like January or
2021.
February.
It was the Valentine's something show that they did for NXT Takeover Vengeance Day. Yeah.
Yeah, those they are still trying to bring that element as well. What do you think about that?
I thought it was a good way to, continue the story from where they left off in another company, because of course they'll be having trust issues in kayfabe. And is it really a rift between both of these guys, or they're just working the elite into something? Like it's a good continuity process, but if they just had Kyle join Adam as it is, then it would be like a very dumb way to get around it. It is, but that being said, Kyle O'Reilly joining Adam Cole, because they've feuded like so much across so many various companies in Ring of Honor, PWG, I think, in NXT, and now in AEW. Like they've feuded and they've also been together. And at the start, they've always been together at the start, which eventually leads to them, turning on each other. So that really puts Kyle O'Reilly in the Sting territory, because he blindly trusts people and then he gets fucked over either by the same person or different people. And Sting is like in kayfabe the most dumbest person to in a team or a faction. So O'Reilly is somewhat there for me if we are doing this continuity also.
I just realized that Sting was in the dumb babyface category.
Yeah, O'Reilly is somewhat there, but O'Reilly has always been a heel in whenever he starts off. So.
So, what happened was at one point Adam Cole actually, or was it the other way, that he took out his tag team partner.
Yeah, it was Kyle O'Reilly. He was going for a knee strike on, I think it was Trent, and then Trent ducks and hits Adam Cole instead. So
So,
Adam Cole is out for the rest of the match.
so the baby faces were about to get the victory here, but here comes out Brandon Cutler. He just was running across the ring, entered, and he gets kicked in the face or something like that. I love the way how Brandon
And
Cutler sells it like he fell off Hell in a Cell.
yes, we should give more credit to Brandon Cutler, man. He just works his ass off no matter what he does, and he does really well.
And it looks like he will be having that face mask for life. I think his broken nose will never recover, I guess.
I mean, it has. If you see BT, then that means
But Brandon Cutler, he gets his ass handed to him. Then the Young Bucks show up, as I think the referee was a little distracted. Double super kick, I guess, to the best friend. So I think this led to O'Reilly and Fish getting the victory for the team.
yes. I forgot what it's called. It's like the Fire of the Dragon or something
Chasing
like
the
that. It
dragon.
was a very cool name. Chasing the Dragon. Yes, thank you. It was a very cool name though, and O'Reilly picks up the win with like I think he pins Trent, and that's a lot.
And
So the yeah.
little post match bit here, where this time, last week, it was Adam Cole was with O'Reilly and Fish. This week, he walked out with the Young Bucks. That's basically the entire story.
The custody of Adam Cole ladder match.
Yeah, we
It's
don't want
happening
the
soon.
face of the Revolution ladder match. Do this ladder match instead at the Purple.
Or have Adam Cole on a pole match. That rhymes.
Or on a forklift.
And yes, Judy Bagwell style. Rest in peace, Judy Bagwell.
Yeah, let's put Sue in the forklift.
Hmm?
Let's put Sue.
Sue. Okay. Shit.
You forgot about Sue, man.
No, I did not. I just didn't hear you properly.
How dare you?
Sorry.
But there you go, man. That was Dynamite.
Yep. That was it. Like now that we've reviewed it, I don't know. I had more fun reviewing this episode than actually watching it because I mean, like we said, the show was there.
But I think we are. Did we mention about Britt Baker versus Rio? How do you feel about that match happening next week? That is, I think, is going to be the main event of Battle of the Belts.
That's the only match announced for now, so probably it is. But yeah, I mean, it's fine, whatever they do.
But anything else you want to add before we get the hell out of here, man?
I don't think so. I'm good.
On that note, Ridwan, where can these guys find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at red_aman. And if you're watching this in video form, you can see it somewhere. Bottom. I still haven't figured out. It's been like 6 months now.
Yeah, it's going
Which
to
side
be
it is.
a long-term build when you finally get the hold of it, where the name template is actually located.
And it deserves its own My Way video. So I'm giving you the opportunity of creating that.
So you can find Slamhub Wrestling on Twitter at SlamHubW, Instagram at SlamHub Wrestling. You can catch this review on Anchor and Spotify as well. This was the AEW Dynamite review, and we'll see you guys next time.
Adios. Should I stop now?